Today, I will also declare a national energy emergency. We will drill, baby, drill.
That was President Trump's pledge just minutes into his second term. But since then, the numbers about drilling and drilling rigs, well, they tell a very different story. According to energy technology company Baker Hughes, on January 20th, there were 580 active oil and gas drilling rigs here in the United States. Today, that number stands at 539. Robert Rapier joins me now. He's the editor-in-chief of Shale Magazine, which covers the energy industry. He also has 25 years of international engineering experience. Robert, explain what's happened, the disconnect in the drill, baby, drill mantra.
So I think the most important thing to keep in mind is that oil companies respond to oil prices. The president can wish all he wants that they will go out and drill, but ultimately they're looking at oil prices, they're looking at their expectations for where oil prices are going to be, and that determines whether they drill. He's passed some policies that they like, but he's passed policies they don't like. They certainly don't like these tariffs on steel and tariffs on equipment. And so, but at the end of the day, they're looking out on the horizon and they have to answer to their shareholders, not the president. And that determines whether they drill. And oil prices have gone down over the last few months. And that, more than anything, is dictating whether they're going to drill.
I looked at my watch in the break between segments, Robert, and West Texas Intermediate closed today at $64. Where does that put most oil exploration discussions?
They're going to be very conservative at these kinds of prices. And oil prices have fallen for several reasons, and President Trump is responsible for some of those reasons. But there are a lot of global reasons why oil prices have declined. President Trump did get Saudi Arabia. He encouraged them to produce more. But, China's imports are slowing down. There's a lot of reasons oil prices have gone down. And, that affects the oil industry in the U.S. I tell people that, low oil prices in the U.S. at one time were a good thing. 20 years ago, we were importing 12.5 million barrels a day of oil. And now we're exporting oil and finished products. So falling oil prices are actually overall bad for the trade deficit. They worsen our trade deficit now, and they're bad for the oil industry. And, I know people like to see low gas prices at the pump. I like to see them myself, but we've got to understand we're not in the same regime that we were in 20 years ago when we were major importers of crude oil.
And Robert, I have read in your publication and others that even if there were more rigs, there would be less employment than historically because rigs are more efficient now. AI plays into that. Other efficiencies on site means that even when there is extraction going on for natural gas or petroleum, you can do it with fewer employees.
That's correct. I mean, if you look at what happened with natural gas rigs declined and natural gas production just continued to rise. So you are getting more oil per rig, so it doesn't take as much. One thing to point out is oil production has still risen. We will likely set, we've set oil production records, and people don't realize this. We produced more oil and gas than any other country in the world in 2023, and then we surpassed that in 2024. And we will probably surpass that again this year. We're running about 2% higher year to date. But over the past couple of months, production has started to decline. So I don't think it's going to decline enough that will prevent us from setting a record this year. But I think next year we will see lower production for the first time in 3 years. But it's not like we weren't drilling before. We were producing record amounts of oil and gas, the last 2 years of the Biden administration.
Robert Rapier, thank you for that perspective and that expertise. I appreciate it very, very much.